And now we are on stage.
We're on stage.
And there's Davey.
Yay.
Woo! Yay!
I won't do the thing, don't worry.
Right then. Hello, everybody. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Desolation Squads to that 6+++ show. I am your host, Tom, and it got cold again today, so I've got my Snorlax onesie back out, and I'm very chuffed. But actually, now the heating's kicked on, and I'm starting to think maybe I'm going to melt, but we'll see. More on that as it develops. I am joined tonight by... I will, of course, talk about my dear lady Chris in a moment, but first, actually, we have a first-time guest here in the form of True Demon Lord, aka our very own Franco. How are you doing, Franco?
Yeah, all good.
Welcome. Yes. No, I'm great, man. It's really nice to have you on. Really excited. Obviously, we were hanging out in Manchester this weekend. So really excited to talk about that. And I guess for those who may not have heard you before, do you want to just tell them a little bit about yourself and where you fit into things?
Yeah, so obviously part of 6++. Go by the name True Demon Lord.
Yes,
Facebook,
you do.
Instagram, blog, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Big demon player. Shocker, it's in the name, you know. But yeah, that's me. I play obviously as part as the team, and we'll be hopefully getting a bit more stuff done on the channel, more videos and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's really it. Me in a nutshell.
Yeah.
True
Demon Lords is obviously
support Arsenal, don't you, Franco?
No, I do not. Oh, you shut your mouth.
Franco's got a blog called True Demon Lord, which you can find online, which is we call him the UK's answer to Warphammer. That's what he is, right? He's an inside-out demons and chaos lover, and you can get all sorts of demon sort of tricks and tips on there. And we're hoping to nag him to make some video content to go on our site soon.
I will do it. I promise.
It's going to happen. So True Demon Lord, whether in this edition or the next, True Demon Lord will become a video force as well.
Yes, definitely.
Elmo Miniature says Franco is the most beautiful human I've ever seen. You're not wrong.
Oh,
you're not wrong.
Lewis, love you too, Lewis.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Very good to see you all. Thanks for all the comments. That's lovely. Reassuring that there are people still here after listening to us once. They've come back again. That's always a good sign, right? So, obligatory Dear Leader Chris introduction. How are you doing, Dear Leader Chris?
Dear Leader Chris is very well, thank you.
Excellent. Have you got anything new in your life?
No, I'm Friday tired, and it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
It's not ideal, but it is about to be 2 weeks of Easter holidays, so that is exciting for me.
Do you think the 4:30 start on Saturday to get to Manchester might have played a role?
I feel like that may have played a minor role in setting me back for potentially the whole week. You know how, like, when you start going out drinking, your hangovers aren't anything, and then by the time you get a bit older, they're like 1 or even 2 days. Maybe
Fatal,
that's just me with tiredness now. You know.
Yeah.
No hobby.
But nearly holidays.
Yeah, nearly holiday. I've got lots of exciting plans to kind of get stuff going over the holidays, 40k wise, but no progress at all.
That's right. We'll let you off.
Apart from painting some AdMech on the Friday night.
Oh yeah, pre-event. Yeah, no, I've done nothing. I've actually I'm because I'm now off from term. I'm rearranging my whole office, so my whole hobby space has been taken apart, so I can actually clean the place and sort it all out, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to start painting again when I re-establish it all. Right, I'm also joined tonight by our very own Expanding Empires expert, Aaron. How you doing, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, man. Recovered from Manchester, thankfully, unlike Chris. But yeah, good.
That's good. I mean, you were the hero, right? You did the driving for us for our little contingent from down this way, so that's always the real effort. It's a 3-hour plus drive, wasn't it, to get up there and back?
Yeah, it's 3.5, 4 hours.
Great. All right. Well, we're very good at self-promotion, like really good. So what we're going to do is promote ourselves via the Plus Roundup first, and then we will get into what we're going to do with the rest of the show. Chris, do you want to tell people what's happening in the world of the Plus?
Well, we literally just released a brand new video, so don't leave just yet. But after this, go and check out Aaron versus Scrivo. They filmed their own bite-sized battle report, Orcs versus Dark Angels. Scrivo edited it together, so if there's any issues, it's on him. And but no, it's a very enjoyable watch, and they do a really good job of explaining their thinking and how they're going about that. So that was really good.
Yeah, and that's Scrivo's debut, isn't it, in a bite-sized back ref, I think,
It is,
which is
yeah.
really exciting. And obviously, he sent us some very funny clips of him providing some sort of back commentary to the game at different
Behind the
stages.
scenes.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting matchup as well. Two of the relative heavy hitters of the meta going at each other. Cool. Is there
Absolutely.
anything else, or is it all stuff for the pipeline?
It's the classic expanding empires, Bugwatch, you all know and love. They're out still. Somehow Aaron and Davey managed to find the time just to fire these out weekly. It's very
The
impressive.
pros, absolute pros.
And then on top of that, we've got the final episode in Ed's You, Me, and the UKTC installment, in which he spoke about tear down the icons, which is the final mission, and he also spoke about how to go about thinking about whether to take a big risk in your game and when you need to, and that sort of thing. We've got one more battle report to come out this week, which is Drakari versus Tyranids. I've got to try and get it out before the data slate drops. So fingers crossed. GW wait till like Thursday or Friday. I can get out before then.
Yeah, hold your fire, guys. Hold your fire.
Come on, I know you're listening.
They're frantically writing a few artillery changes anyway at the moment. I'm sure they.
Yeah. So take your fingers off the export button, GW. Just hold on. Let me get this out. And but yeah, that's kind of it for now.
I recorded a state of play with Jamie Bolcom as well for Custodes.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
At some stage that will come through as well. But obviously, as you can hear, Chris is a busy boy right now, so we'll give him some space to get those various things through and on their way. Wonderful. Okay, right. Well, what we are going to do today is we've got the result of a game to do, because a little while ago when Arks of Omen dropped, we played a game called Pin the Win Rate on the faction. And what this means is we were trying to guess what different sort of win rates armies might be posting after the fact going forwards in Arks of Omen, and we said we'd wait till after Manchester GT and then we'll get a look at the meta and see how accurate our guesses have been. So we had a mix of different guesses, and we'll report in on that in a bit, but we're going to see how accurately we were able to forecast the state of things and how far out we might have been in other ways as well. But before that, what we're going to do is recap briefly on our experience at the Manchester GT, because we were all there. We all made that journey. We're going to briefly react to 10th, the little tiny bit about 10th we actually know so far. And at the end, obviously, you've sent us a bunch of crazy listener questions, as you always do. So we'll tackle at least a few of those as well. And obviously, if you do want to get more questions through, you can bung them in the chat, and we'll do our best to field those as we go. I'm enjoying Aaron totally looks like Wish Stu Black. That's fun.
I have no idea who that is. But...
is he one of the Warhammer writers?
I think it's the head of the rules, the rules team, isn't he?
Yeah, I've never seen him. I can't verify how true.
Warhammer tournaments.
Yeah, no, I know he does.
Plays on the bottom tables. Yeah.
All right, so recap Manchester GT. Does anyone want to do the basics in terms of parking arrangement, sort of tables, toilets, all those sorts of things? Anyone want to review the basics?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good overall. Like there was a lot of parking on site if you got there early, because obviously it was also an open sports centre. But we actually just rocked up on Friday night, parked there, and left the car there for the entire time, which was quite handy. They seemed to have enough toilets. There was several of them around. You could have obviously all the free water that was there. There was beer, there was cider, there was soft drinks, there was coffees. There was a really nice poutine stall outside for lunch, as well as your standard burger and hot dogs place. So yeah, overall I think it was pretty good. I could see it needing a bigger venue, because it felt like it was stretching out teams.
Yeah. I think Zach said they're going to try and double it next time.
Yeah,
which is pretty promising, right? That would be a very fun size of event to get to. So yeah, okay, great, wonderful. So I mean, we'll rattle through the games. Like what I would suggest is the usual treatment, so we don't hold people up too much. If there's one of your games that you want to sort of unpack on in some considerable depth, please do. But otherwise, sort of potted summaries to let us know how each of you got on. So perhaps if we start with you, Chris, as the captain, how did you get on? And do you want to remind people what it was you took?
I took the AdMech.
Yes, you did.
I did take the AdMech. So I wanted something very different from Harlequins. I had a couple of practice games, and I was like, yeah, sure. Like these guys, I feel like they've got play. Yeah. I would like to think I've improved a bit since I last played AdMech, and I definitely noticed over the weekend there were more plays that I was doing and more things I was thinking about and realising even from the basics of like how I deployed. So I used to deploy my 3 blocks, one in this room, one in this one, and this one, and this one. And be like, oh, how do I get my buffs everywhere? Whereas now I was very much like my deployment zone was an interweaving mess of all of these different 20-mans conga lining and stuff just to try and get the buffs where I wanted them and that sort of thing. My list, for anyone who doesn't really know, basically was Lucius, so I get +1 to my save against 1 damage and a bit of extra range. I had all the standard characters which give me a whole host of buffs. From like being in cover, extra saves if in cover, to fall back and shoot, shoot and charge, etc. I had deep strike denial from 12-inch bubbles. You can think of it. I had it in my list, so I started on 0 CP.
All the toys.
All the toys. I had 3 big blocks of infantry, 1 vanguard, 2 rangers. I had 2 units of choppy boys, infiltrators, 2 units of dogs, and then the obligatory iron striders to go pew pew with the big shield. And my first game was against Mr. Adam Lynch, who I played at the team tournament. And he was using Custodes then, and I was using Harlequins. And that game was an absolute disaster because it was a horrendous matchup on a horrendous mission for me. And so I was really excited to play and get my revenge, only it turns out it was once again a horrendous matchup for me. Adam had put a lot of prep into this game. He'd like kind of practiced a few times on TTS, the matchup, so he was very well versed in my buffs, and he figured out where I was probably going to deploy, and so where he could counter deploy, and all those sorts of things. And full credit to him, he got first turn and he did exactly what I didn't want him to do, which was bung his entire army in the middle of the board. He was super aggressive, and I just didn't really get anything right in this game. It was just my counterpunch on turn 1 wasn't enough. He then got into my lines with enough stuff and had like the no fallback or roll off on a fallback Qatar going, and I just got whittled and dwindled away far too quickly. So much so that I scored 0 primary in this game. That's how well it went. My Laz chickens didn't kill a single unit, and so I didn't get any eradication of flesh. So it was probably one of my, if not the worst defeat I've ever suffered, and I lost 97-19.
Yeah, 19 that is rough.
That was so it was a really good start to my AdMech experience. I was really happy about that. I felt really good about myself. I was thinking I've made definitely the right choice here. So then I got Deathwatch Game 2 against Mr. John Burns, and I was like, I recognise this name. It turns out I played him a while ago at his last UK TC event, and he was running Deathwatch then with lots of Dreadnoughts. I was on the Harlequin, so I knew it was going to be a really enjoyable game. We got on really well. The problem with this game fundamentally was that he had a lot of slow moving Deathwatch infantry, and I have a lot of big guns, and it was kind of oh, you show me a unit, I'm now going to kill it. Oh, you show me a unit, I'm now going to kill it. It was never in any doubt. I was always in a really comfortable position, but it never felt right. Like my deployment zone, as I alluded to earlier, was just a massive mess of all of these units into it. It made moving around quite tricky because I was threading things through, etc. But no, I pretty much tabled him turn 4, and that was like a 94-37 win or something like that. So it's, data scry salvage is always quite a big blowout. So that's all good. So I was my 1-on-1. I was hunting my traditional 2-1 for the day, and I got to play Diego, who Tom had played.
Oh, I played Diego. Yes, lovely guy, actually, really nice guy.
So this is probably the game I found. Well, definitely the game I played the best in, like the most satisfying game for me. So his demon list was the big stuff. So he had Scarbrand, Phasecat, Bloodthirster, and Bellicor. He had then Flamers, Bloodletters, Nurglings, like that sort of stuff. And it was conversion, and in the same way that some missions don't really click for me, conversion seems to click for me. I can just know where to go, and it just feels like everything works. He got first turn and didn't really want to show anything, understandably, because whatever he would put out would just die. So that gave me 1 turn to set my screens. So I had infiltrators top left-hand corner. I had 2 units of Cerberus Raiders right across the middle. I had my Vanguard just right near the middle with the Techno-Archaeologist with the 12-inch deep strike thing. My main concern in this game was Scarbrand getting in and stopping me from falling back. So I had to make sure that didn't happen. And then on the right-hand side, I had like 5 Vanguard pushed up, getting my first hidden Archibald objective. So then he had to make a decision on his turn too. Like, what did he do? Did he try and drop down and just kill stuff, or like what? So he decided to try and clear my screens and hope I couldn't reset those screens again turn 2. So his flamers, 2 units of 3 flamers came out, killed my screens. He brought bloodletters over to kill the 5 Vanguard. He dropped down another set of bloodletters to kill the infiltrators, but failed that charge, which was quite big. It was an 8-inch charge. He failed it. And so that meant it was like, right, now it's my time to shine. So I was able to pick up the 10 bloodletters in that corner, 10 bloodletters in this corner. He had 10 bloodletters kind of in that middle ruin, which I charged with Rust Stalkers.
Nice.
My shooting, I was able to pick up both units of flamers as well, and the extra Nurglings. And at the end of that turn, I just kind of cleared everything, and I reset my screens with all my charges.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, Paul Bridge, that's very kind. Thank you very much. Really lovely.
And so it came to his turn 3, and on the board he had 3 Nurglings, Be'lakor, and a character, a Zinch character. And that was it. And then
not ideal.
to drop down, he had Scarbrand, Be'lakor, and the Facecap Bloodthirster, which he dropped down.
The big boys.
And he had 6 flamers. So he put these 6 flamers into some rangers and killed like half of them because they were like in cover and were buffed enough. And then Be'lakor chopped up a tank. Facecap Bloodthirster killed 7 Rust Stalkers. Apparently he has 18 attacks at damage 3.
Horrendous. Yeah, he's horrific.
So gross.
And he ignores like modifiers, feel no pains, all that stuff.
Yeah. But those 7 Rust Stalkers were...
Thanks, Ed Fawcett. We love you, Ed, you babe. You beautiful shaven-headed monster.
And then the Scarbrand killed 5 infiltrators, which I'm kind of okay with.
Yeah, you'll take that, won't you, all day long?
That's pretty good trade. Because then I went, right, I'm now going to hit you on 2s. And I killed Scarbrand and I killed Be'lakor with my 2 things.
2 of them in a turn is a lot, man. I never get 2 great ideas in a turn.
It's still so basically, when Be'lakor killed the Dune Rider, I was like, right, I'm going to auto-explode this just to get some mortals onto Be'lakor because I know how annoying he can be. So the Vanguard then lit him up and left him on 3 wounds. And I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a pain, isn't it? And sure enough, I was like, all right, I've got these 4 large chickens. Should I split fire into Be'lakor and the Facecap Bloodthirster? The Scarbrand was already dead. I was like, no, come on, don't be silly. And sure enough, I only got 1 through, and that was after a reroll, just to finish him off. Like Be'lakor's such a pain. And I think full credit has to go to Diego here because for turn 4 and 5. He had 6 flamers, although he shouldn't have. I just failed a 4-inch charge with a unit. That was really annoying. Which would have completely closed off the game. But he had these 6 flamers. He had Facecap Bloodthirster, and he had 3 Nurglings. And he played 2 turns with basically those and was just scrounging out all the points he could. And it finished like 82-70. But like he definitely not remotely give up. He just, he
was tenacious. Like very sporting, very friendly, but also was going to play his heart out, right? It was that kind of play.
And it was a really great game. Probably my most enjoyable game of the weekend. Yeah. So if you're listening, Diego.
Yeah, Diego. He was of the Order Hispanicus group, wasn't he?
Yeah, great group of guys.
Lovely man. Every time we play them, it's lovely. So yeah, credit to you, Diego.
So yeah, that was my day 1. Do you want me to? Should we all do our day 1s, or do you want me to do my day 2?
Don't mind. How are people feeling? We can hear about more Vanguards doing Vanguard things if you like.
Yeah, sure. I'll whiz through them.
Yeah, just roll through. Otherwise, you have to keep changing your little underscript that you've put.
Oh, yeah, that is. I can't multitask.
I certainly can't.
So we had a lovely meal in the evening. Went for some Korean barbecue.
We did. It was good.
We did.
Very, very tasty.
Real nice.
And then had our traditional Baileys as well. Can't go wrong.
Yes, that was good.
No ice though.
No, they were out of ice. I'd used all the ice up the night before, and they hadn't got more. The guy wasn't back from the Arctic yet.
And then I got to play Chaos Demons again. A guy called Julo, who's a very good player, like traditional like 4-1 player. And his list was a bit more like well-rounded. He wasn't Disciples of Be'lakor, but he had Beast of Nurgle, he had Fiends, he had Flamers, he had Be'lakor, he had Burning Chariot, he had Torment Bringer on Hellflare or
Oh
something.
yeah, the wide boy chariot. That seems to be popular at the moment.
Yeah, he had all sorts, and it was Tide of Conviction. And in the same way that Conversion, it just clicks with me. Tide of Conviction really doesn't. This is a really difficult match for me to analyze because there were so many different things I could have done. I like in a game, quite often you can pinpoint either I was like, the game plan was fine, but this bit went wrong or whatever. In here, like from where do I put my vanguard to how do I use my vanguard to different decisions I made with target priority, it's really hard to know what was the issue. Um, Essentially, he was a very good player and he made a really nice move, which I spotted halfway through him doing it, and I was just like, oh shit, because he had the Beast of Nurgle, who obviously have this 4-up
Yeah.
fullback thing, which is like ruinous to me.
It's very scary. Yeah.
I'd sent in my 5 infiltrators to the hidden Archivault objective to clear out the Nurglings, and he charged everything into those infiltrators, including the Beast of Nurgle. And then obviously kill. And then as he did it, I was like, why is he doing this? And then I was like, and of course what he did was he killed the infiltrators with something else, and then moved the Beast of Nurgle 3 inches and then 6 inches onto my home field my objective on my right hand side, which is out in the open, where I put these 3 bloody Cerberus Raiders, who when they'd been sat out there in the open of their pre-game move, and I was like, I don't know what to do with these. I'll just stick them here because they're not going to get shot or anything. And all of a sudden, these beasts of Nurgle are on my home field objective. I'm like, oh no. I really hope he fails his 4-up. He did. So
Yay!
but no, I didn't quite. Basically, he ummed and ahed as well about whether to put Be'lakor on his open objective on his side, and eventually he did. I was like, well, I've got to take the bait. So the Vanguard flew over there with the solar flare, and he'd taken 4 wounds from Las Chickens the turn before, and I left Be'lakor on 1 wound. So I'm just going to harp back with the Vanguard. So harp back to what I said earlier, which is Be'lakor's really annoying to kill. So all of my incidental shooting did nothing. So eventually I had to waste these 3 Dragoons just to try and get that final blow off. That was it, because I actually did kill Be'lakor, but he re-rolled the final save and made the 4-up. Like, that's not how it works, right? No one ever
Big boy plays. Yeah.
No one makes that 4-up re-rollable. Like, no one does that. It's not okay behaviour.
He's broken a social contract there.
Yeah, exactly. Just fail that. Basically, the game, the biggest point of the game was that I had these 20 Vanguards 20 Rangers on my home field objective, which I had fired 80 shots, picked up 7 Fiends with, and they were all in cover. And I thought I'd screened out the 6 Flamers. And what happened was I hadn't, because they can come in 6 inches if you warp surge and reduce it by 2. And I'd screened out 7 inches. So these Flamers got straight down the middle of the board and did 54 shots. And I'd fully buffed the Vanguard unit at the back. Now, if I'd fully buffed these guys here, they would have been safe, but then my Vanguard unit would have got obliterated. So I don't really, and they were kind of supposed to go and attack his home field. So it's hard to know how it would go, but that was what cost me, and I lost that like 82-62. He had bottom of turn, which helped, but he played it really, really well. Like, he was a very good player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
And then very quickly, final game, I was going to play into Hail of Doom, which I was really excited about. And then he walked up to the table and went, "Oh, have they not told you I've dropped?"
Oh.
So, okay, cool. So then I went over to find out who I'd be repaired into, and I was repaired into a chap called Will, who was currently 0-4, and he was playing with Guard. Now, I say 0-4, but I looked at his results, and he'd lost by 3 points, 4 points. He'd lost 92-82 to Chris Radford's Space Wolves.
Oh, wow.
And Chris Radford's a very, very good player. So it wasn't going to be easy, and his list was not your traditional list, because he had a Bane Sword, and he also had 2 Death Strikes, and he had 2 Hellhounds, and just a load of tanks. And essentially this game came down to the fact that I played really, really badly, but I did one good thing, which was I took inspiration from David Gaylard when he played Lee Churchwood at Teams. For those who don't know, Lee got first turn, obliterated David Gaylard's
We
army.
did. We thought we were going to beat Dice down.
We thought we were going to beat Dice down for one.
Totally
one
reasonable thought to have
one
had.
turn.
Yeah.
And then David Gaylard wrapped his entire army around the middle of the board, around Lee Churchwood's Scout Sentinels.
Yeah, if you've
And I
noticed,
was
the Sentinels are not deploying in the middle of the board so much these days. It's because people have started wrapping entire armies around them, and it's not good.
So I was like, oh, this could work. So I went +3 move, 3-inch move, -1 save, and charged my Vanguard in, and some Rust Stalkers, and some Cerberus Raiders, and some Infiltrators. And we all kind of just had a good party in the middle, and it kind of secured me on primary. I can't underestimate or overstate how many stupid things I did in this game. My buffs wrong to, oh, your Death Strike's going to land in the middle, so I guess I might as well pull out of engagement my Vanguard who have wrapped this thing. I'll enclose him in a circle, but I'll pull out so that I can shoot with them. Not thinking that obviously that means his army can then shoot into my Vanguard. In my mind, I was just like, well, it's only the mortal wounds that are coming down. Like it was a classic game fight. I chose the wrong secondary. I chose accretion of knowledge rather than bring it down, which mathematically bring it down just gives better results. I don't understand how I got to the wrong decision there. So I played horrendously, apart from that one killer move, which won me the game on primary because it finished 83-76.
Oof, that's a good game.
Yeah, I was always in the lead. So at one point I was like 60-30 up, right? But he had bottom of turn, and eventually the Vanguard died. He did this really cool move where he remembered he could fire into combat, and his Sentinel was on 1 wound. So he didn't give himself the order to re-roll ones, because ones to hit his own army in combat. So he fired into my Vanguard, and then used the ones to kill his Scout Sentinel. So the Scout Sentinel died, so then the rest of his army could shoot the Vanguard. So that was like quite
cool.
But yeah, scraped the win, so I finished 3-2.
Very nice. And how do you feel about the Admech having taken them through what is probably a tough meta in some ways for them, I think?
Yeah, I think I avoided the nastiness. Custody is obviously quite bad for them, but the army's got so much anti-demon tech, and there's a lot of demons out there. And I could definitely have won that game. That's the one on the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
They've definitely got play. I would need to play into Venga Boys. I would need to play into Mortars. I think I think it was really enjoyable. Like using the big bricks, you can do a lot of the big bricks in terms of like movement and wrapping and trapping and stealing objectives. And when it's fully buffed, they're really hard to shift. So I think they're really cool. A lot of people just don't know what they do either, which obviously just means you can cheat constantly.
It's got a bit of the GSC factor about it, I think. I do think, in terms of the way I think you maneuver those big slabs of guys and having a bit of tricks and also being unusual in the meta. And also the reasons they're good at demons, I think, are reasons CSC quite like demons as well. It's interesting. But no, it was really cool. I think it's 60% win rate. Got to nerf them now. They're broken.
They are officially a 60% win rate army.
Yeah, messed up. And thank you, Simon Harris, who says, "Can I just say, Chris, as someone who plays Admech at tournaments regularly, this just happens with Admech. There are so many things to organise and micro. Those kind of misplays are always waiting. Yeah, this is the thing. If you technically demanding armies, it can get you right. It can happen. Absolutely.
It was fun. It was good fun.
Right. Well, let's go. Let's take it to a green skin place, because this was Aaron's first event with the Orcs. So, Aaron, do you want to take as well? Not your first event, because obviously you did have the very demanding home turf RTP 1K
First
tournament.
2,000 point.
First proper big boy tournament with the Orcs. So, do you want to tell people quickly what you took and then rattle through your games?
Yeah, it just took a triple kill rig Goth Pressure List, Storm Boys, Snagger Boys in it, War Boss and War Bike, etc.
Triple kill rig, right?
Yeah, a couple of kill rigs, yeah. Good fun.
And another one.
But yeah, look, I've had a lot of fun practicing with them and starting to get them painted up. Scrivo's very kindly lending me some of his while I'm trying to paint the rest of them, because it's quite
John, for being a good teammate.
laborious task. But yeah, so first up I played, and this was probably my favourite game just for the army it went into, but I played a lovely lad called Daniel Crook, and he's World Eaters. So it's the
Oh,
first time I
nice.
played against World
Yeah,
Eaters,
yeah,
first
yeah.
time I'd seen them in person. It was beautiful. Like we had Angron, a load of 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, etc., etc. I think it was just a really cool game, really cool guy, and sort of the one defining piece of that game, I think, really was. And we spoke about it afterwards, but essentially he put his Rhino with 2 units of Berserkers in the little L that's on the line, and I charged in and wrapped it with 15 Storm Boys and blew the Rhino up. So
Yeah.
obviously all the Berserkers went. Um,
That's
is
a sad
beautiful.
day. That is. Chris loves a rhino rap, doesn't
but we chatted
he?
afterwards, and Daniel was saying it's like because he's played just so many shooting armies recently, he just auto deployed it there, like not really sort of taking that moment and breath. But I done that in the next game, so I did win that game. I think that was 95-62. And then next up, I played into Mark Caudry in his guard,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where I done what Daniel done in the last one,
Big
and
fan of
just
the channel is Mark.
He
totally
loves our
forgot
work.
what I was doing. And we got to deployment and we went for our reserves and I forgot to say and put all of my kill rigs in reserve because he was playing a very tuned guard list with the Casking Bomb, the Plasma
Yeah.
Executioners, etc., etc. So they should not have been on the table. They should have been 3d6 charging from reserves. But
Yeah.
yes, so that did not go my way.
No. He did.
I'm
He
not saying
helped
it
you.
would
He
have gone
helped
my
you get
way
them
anyway.
back in the. He helped you get them back in reserves, didn't he? He just took them off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't last that long. But no, it's still a pretty good game, and obviously I think it would have been a bit closer. It's still obviously in Mark's favour, but that one I lost. I think it was 46-96.
Okay.
And then my last game of the first day was against. I said my dad straight away because he's got the same name, but James Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah. You said that on the day. Like I'm playing my
Yeah.
dad.
We were like,
and
what?
Be a hell of an EastEnders style storyline. I love
Yeah, pretty cool because I didn't know he played.
it.
But he was playing Blood Angels, and I must say this was such a cool army. The whole Blood Angels thing was done with a samurai theme. So it had like is it the Jinto mask demons? Like that was the chaplain and everything. They all had special jetpacks on. It was just an absolutely beautiful army to look at. And I confused James at the start, and I deployed on my back line with everything, my kill rigs, all that sort of stuff. And he was like, "Oh," and he got first turn. He's like, "Where do I go?" So sort of bamboozled him a bit with that, and then came up and just sort of ate everything very, very quickly. And
Yeah.
that was a 98-49 win for me.
Very nice.
So a nice end to day one, and obviously got to hang out with everyone and relive it all for the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
And then the first game of game two was into Benedict Borrowdale and his Yunari.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Which we were very confident you
Me
were
and
going to
Chris, several pints in, me and Chris were like, you're just gonna smash him, mate. You'll be
win.
fine.
He can't deal with you. He can't
Run
kill
him
enough of
over.
the
It's too
Aaron.
much
You'll be
stuff. He
fine.
doesn't have enough stuff. You'll just drown him.
And that's Benedict said that he's like, it was my first time playing into them, Yunari, and he's like, whenever he plays Orcs, he's like, it's a knife edge game, and
Yeah.
either he kills enough that he can get the rest of the way through on one particular turn, or he doesn't, and the entire army folds.
Yeah.
And I asked him that question, and I got right into his home objective on turn one with some truck boys, took out his Harlequin troop, tagged his D cannons. I just really got in there to be annoying, and I had the second wave of everything coming up, but and also took out a couple of units of Rangers, and was lost on his striking Scorpions. So he really took a big dent out of it and was ready to cut. But then in his first turn, he picked up all 3 of my kill rigs. And they were just far enough back that obviously when my Stagger Boys got out, they were a turn too far away from getting out and getting into his lines, which meant that he just picked them up in his turn because he managed to keep everything far enough away. And I ended up going down on that 55-92. And the final game of the day I had was against Guard again.
Okay.
And this was against Joshua the Gent Jones. lovely, lovely guy from Leeds, and he had a very heavy infantry list, but no Carskin. But he did have a unit of shock troops with the key to do a bit of shenanigans and some a Tempest Signs detachment.
Okay, yeah. They're popping up more at the moment.
Yeah, and then the Vanquisher Lehman Russ and 3 Plasma Lehman Russes. Still a hefty amount of that as well. And this time I did start all of my Keurigs off the board. I remembered that this time.
Good lad.
But it actually, they didn't do too much actually, because it all came down to a sort of an infantry battle, and he'd sort of layered these lines of infantry squads in there to like protect his tanks. But then obviously I don't really have a lot to get into his tanks with, even if the Keurigs are on the board. I don't have great stuff into his tanks except for sort of wrapping them and tying them up. And what that sort of allowed me to do with some commandos and storm boys was just throw myself forward and just hit one line and then consolidate into the next, and just sort of get up in his grill a lot.
Yeah.
And I managed to take that one 98-53.
Very good.
So yeah, it ended up going 3-2, which was great. But I think the big thing for this event for me was every single one of my opponents was lovely. It's my favourite event for opponents. Everyone was absolutely.
That's really good.
As we would say, Tom Babes. They were absolutely wonderful. Nothing but joy, and like really hope to play them all again. And it was a really, really good event.
That's good. I like to think that's the average experience, and I know you'd had a couple of unlucky ones at different times, so that's really nice that you played. It's the Northwest doing its thing, people being friendly sorts. No, excellent, man. That's really good. And I think for a first proper outing with the Orcs, that's a really good result as well. I think Yanari it sounds like your lad was able to stay very, very calm under a lot of pressure, frankly, to pull all of those different things off. Given the position you put him in turn 1, so I'd have actually loved to have watched that game to see how that was dug out. It sounds like an amazing game.
That was good fun.
And you'll flatten him next time, because me and Chris are confident that it's a good matchup. if you'd been playing me or Chris, you'd have flattened us.
This was a one-off, Aaron. Next time.
Yeah. Next time, just do the same thing again. It'll go totally different.
Do the exact same thing.
The thing is, I would do the exact same thing, because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly that. Swissy says better folk up north. Yeah, not going to dispute that.
The ones that live up north.
Some of them come down this way and bother us in the central lands. Right, okay, True Demon Lord, let's hear it. What faction were you running, True Demon Lord?
So I decided to do something very different and run Chaos Demons.
Oh my word! Wow.
I know, right? I am on the but I am running the. I guess everyone's like, oh, I'm a bandwagon jumper because I'm running the new hotness in Zinch, which it's very good into the current meta. But I've gone back to my old roots of where I started with demons, mono Zinch.
Yeah,
it's a place in my heart, so you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I've gone with the mono Zinch. I've got Chris's best mate Bellicor in the list, obviously, and we've got a Fate Skimmer, a Flux Master. I've put in 10 Pink Horrors only as a placeholder.
Okay.
And ended up loving them. Like, they were probably my second favorite unit the entire weekend, so they're staying in. They're going to stay in there.
Nice.
We had 2 Exalted Flamers. We had just 16 Flamers, not the full 18. So, yeah, I know, right? Not good enough. And then we had 2 units of 5 Screamers, and then the 3 Burning Chariots. So,
nice.
It's a really, really fast list, really resilient against shooting, which a lot of the meta is at the moment, or a lot of the higher up meta. It's got a lot of tricks as well, as you would expect with Zinch. So, but it's a really fun list to use. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So, first game I went in when I drew it, or when the parents went up, it was Custodians. In all the years I've played competitive 40k, I've never managed to beat Custodians competitively. So I was like, oh great! I was like, brilliant. Rocked up to the table, and I had a really wonderful opponent called Guy, who actually was at his first ever 2-day event. So I was like, I've got to be nice, Franco. I can't be try hard, Franco.
Yeah.
I just thought all he's got shooting wise really was the 10 missiles on. Yeah, 3 units of 3 bikes and the bike captain, normal stuff really. So he had 10 missiles. I was like, Bellicor will be fine. He won't get Bellicor for that. So I deployed everything on the front line, and I was like, just come at me. I went first, so I kind of just screamed forward, lined up my screamers to kind of bait him out and to go into them, set up for the next turn to wait for his trap, or wait for him to come out to trap him and then hit him with the flamers. And he moved out, went for the screamers, and then it was quite a straightforward game of jump forward. But when he deployed, he had to redeploy and he deployed his spikes back, which I think was a massive mistake. So he wasn't able to get as far forward as he could. So when he did come forward, I was again able to move forward, stop him getting forward, hit his bikes. I ended up killing, I think, 6 bikes in one turn and a squad of guys as well. Which at that point I was just like with most of the bikes gone, because they were the scary units. The rest of it not so much. With all them gone, then Bellicle was able to mop up the middle. Bellicle did actually go down because his last unit, 3 bikes, come forward, shot him, and I think he hit and wounded twice. I failed both my 4+ saves. Took a lot of damage from that, and then he just got lucky with his stabbies in combat, and Bellicle went down. But at that point, I had already had the game anyway. So, and that was a fun game, quite an enjoyable game. Guy was a cool dude. But I was just really happy to get that win over Custody. So I got that out of the way.
I hate them. They're one of my
I don't like them. Yeah. And I was like, yes, got them out of the way, beat the Custodians. And I was like, right, what have I got round 2? And I was like, Dark Angel. I was like, great. So we had three massive blocks of 10 Terminators, which he split 2 of them into 5s. He had 3 2-man command squad, like Deathwing command squads. Your usual smattering of characters, the bike Apothecary, Ezekiel, Azrael, the banner, and then the land speedery character is Dark Talon. Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's right. Oh, no, Talonmaster.
Yeah. And then was that it? I think that was it. So I didn't know what to expect. This is my first time into the Boogeyman Dark Angels in this season. So I was like, okay, he's going to come forward. He's going to take the objective. So he went first. Moved forward, got onto his 2 home, or advanced his stuff onto his side of the objectives. We were playing the Data Scry. What's the one where you did him?
Data Scry. Yeah, that's right.
Which I don't mind as a mission. So he moved on his, and then he moved up to the center. So in my turn, I used my screamers, threw them up, blocked out his unit of 10 Terminators, and then he had his 2 units of 5 that moved up on the other side. Jumped my flames up, jumped my chariots up, and wiped them. The 2 units of 5 with ease, and I was like, these Archangel Terminators aren't that tough. I'm not going to have any trouble with this. So hold them down. Everything moved forward. He moved forward, killed the Screamers, moved on to the objective, and then with Psychic Power, which I wasn't able to deny with my normal denial or the 4+, removed the objectives, killed off my my horrors. So I was like, oh no, great. So I'm going to lose primary a lot on this. And actually, that moment turned out to be really big. So I was like, okay, I'll deal with the unit 10 Terminators, and then turn 3, I'll go over and I'll jump at the other 2 units of 5. Except that unit 10 Terminators took me to turn 5 to get rid of because I just couldn't get past. It was all of a sudden couldn't get past the 4+. Bellicle ran into combat, killed 0 for 2 turns. I eventually managed to get through them, but I was just like, oh. And then best part about it though was Azrael and Ezekiel both ran into my unit 10 horrors. And the unit of 10 horrors was completely untouched at 10, and I ended the turn, I think, with 5 pinks, 6 blues, and I think I ended up with like a brim. So I was like, it's even bigger, like my offset and all that. So I was trying to pull it out where it took me like nearly 3 turns to get through this unit 10. I had jumped to the other side, ended up killing the Terminators, and I'm like, cool, I pulled them off the objective. I've got more objectives. I don't need to do anything else. I'm about to win this game. And I had it at I think I had it at 80-77 to me, and I was like, cool, I got it. It was a half 5, but I got it. And the guy was like, sticky objectives is a thing in this mission, right? And I was like, yeah, I forgot.
Oh, no.
So because I forgot about it, I didn't go for that 3rd objective, which meant he won 77-76. And I was like,
oh man.
It was gutting. I turned to Courtney, right? And I just looked at her, and she was just looking at me like, oh no. She understands what's going on now. She's been to enough events, so she was looking at going.
Say she's watched a whole bunch of your games now,
and
right?
so she gets it, and she was looking, going, no, you idiot. I was like, I know. So yeah, it was gutting. But you know what? You know when you go into that game, and it was a silly mistake, but I was like, I lost that game just because I forgot one thing. Yeah. So I was quite happy. Maybe. Some dice rolls didn't quite go my way, but I wasn't too gutted. I was a bit like, but not a bad result going into that kind of matchup to come out with a result like that. So I was like, okay. And then I went into World Eaters game 3, which I was like, like World Eaters were a bit of a nasty matchup. But luckily, the guy took 2 War Dogs and 3 Rapier batteries, which I was like, awesome. Like less combat stuff, more shooting stuff. That's fine.
Rapier batteries in World Eaters. Wow.
Yeah, they weren't very good. But
I wouldn't expect them to be.
I don't know if that was because it was against me because he was shooting all 3 up saves or what. But,
Yeah.
he had his 15 8-bound. He had the Lord Avocado, so he had the forward Road of 8 Bloody Steps, 2 units of 5 Berserkers, a Rhino, and a couple units of Jackals, and then the obligatory 3 spawn. And then so he went first. I lined up my screamers on the line to stop him like throwing 8-bound straight into my flamers and all that. He threw 1 unit of Berserkers in. They killed 1 screamer, and then the 4 screamers ended up killing all the Berserkers back, which I was like, awesome, cool. And then I thought he was a bit too passive during the game because he had 2 units of 8-bound, 1 behind one objective, on an objective behind a building for about 2-3 turns, and then another unit he kept back for another turn behind a building. So he moved stuff into the center. I jumped forward with Bellacore and my flamers. My unit of 6 got round to hit his 5 8-bound in the ruin. So I was like, these might be a bit of a struggle to bring down. I might end up leaving like 2 of them. So I angled my chariots in a bit of a dangerous position, but I have to get rid of these 8-bound. And I blocked out the other 8-bound so they couldn't get to me straight away. And then the unit 6 flamers wiped them out, and it wasn't even close. Like I think I ended up rolling something like 48 shots, and I was hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. I was winning on 2s, re-rolling 1s, and then he made something like he had like 5 up saves, 5 up in 1s, and I think he passed like 4 or 5 of them, and then just for the rest, I was like, oh, great. So now I'm really exposed. So I pulled off a knight as well with my chariots. I thought they might as well do something before they die. But the chariots were absolutely amazing. Like, he ran into the chariots and bounced. Like the 4+ save and the T6 and the 9 wounds, like they are quite tough. So, but I was going into my turn 4, so I was going second. And I was like 26 points down. I was like, oh no, like I have not been scoring. So like I need to get a move on. So lucky enough, in the last turn, I turned it around and ended up getting, I think, 80-73. So it was a case of he scored a lot early, then ran out of string because I killed him, and I sat back a bit because I didn't want to get charged by everything, and then just went for it late game. But that was a really fun game. He was a demon player as well that had jumped on the World Eaters, so we were able to have a lot of like demon chat and a lot of banter. So that was a really fun game. And then into day 2, I got guard, which I was a bit like. I wasn't too scared because I know they're quite scary, but I was like, I'm quite good in the guard just because of my saves. So he went first again. He moved the Sentinel up, tried to get onto the objective for the tertiary points, but with like an inch out on the advance. And then he moved the Chimera up that had Kazakins in, up to the midfield behind the objective in my territory. And then he left it at that. He couldn't see nothing, so he didn't shoot anything. And he had no artillery or mortars or anything. So he just kind of set up for the next turn. So I then pulled out my pink horrors, wrapped around the Sentinel, because who doesn't love wrapping Sentinels? And then my Screamers came out and wrapped around the Chimera and brought it down to like 2 wounds. Nice. So he couldn't bring he couldn't move it out because I wrapped it, and he couldn't bring the guys out either. So I was like, that'll deal with that for a turn. And then it was just a systematic case of he couldn't really. I blocked him in with both my units of Screamers, so he couldn't move his tanks around. And then my flamers and my burner chariots were pretty immense in that game. Like anything they touched just died.
Yeah, I love burning chariots at the moment.
And then they are really good. And then Bellacore was more of a paperweight in that game. He didn't really do anything to the last couple. Like he was sat behind the building, just going, "I'll wait until like almost everything's dead, then I'll come out." And then I was like, I'm going to bring him out. If he dies, he dies. At this point, I don't think I need him. It was the other stuff doing the bits. Brought him out. He fired all 5 tanks of Bellacore, took 4 wings off him. So I was like, oh, I had nothing to worry about. And then Bellacore went in, chopped up 2 tanks, chopped up another tank. And so I was really happy. I think I ended 97-33. So
amazing. Smashed him.
I hammered the poor guy. But I was like really confident. And then going into round 3, I played up into guard again, which I didn't know how to feel about it because he had a lot of mortars and like death strike and all that. And,
the death strike.
Yeah. So So I went first, and I think I have a really bad habit of going 3-1 into the final game and then just like crapping my pants and playing completely different. And it's I've done it at Southampton
You
and
and
I've done
all
it
of us, we've
here.
all been there. Yeah.
So I decided I went first and I thought, you know what, screw it. I can take his shooting. I'm just gonna throw everything out. And so I put everything but Bellacore and like the horrors like on the middle objectives.
Mhm.
And I would just like get through all my saves. Like I don't think you've got enough shots to do it. Um he's I mean, I guess if I rolled average on my saves, I would have been okay. But like I was rolling like 10 3-up saves and passing like 3 of them. And it was just like that. And then I would just lose and stuff. I was like, oh, awesome. So he kind of pulled me down in that turn. So I just was playing for the amount of points that I could. But at the end of turn 3, we were just like, look, let's just talk the last like round out.
Yeah.
We've got like another hour and a half. And if I like we finish this now, I can start my 4.5-hour journey home early. So unfortunately, in hindsight, on the whole way home, I was thinking to myself, if I play it like this, how does it happen? And obviously, I can't say for definite I would win it.
No.
But I was very confident if I had played it more passive, made him come out and then gone at it, I think I might have had a really good chance of pulling it.
Yeah.
So another 3-2, which I was really gutted with, and I finished 66 out of 250, whatever. Which at first I was really gutted with, but I've had a lot of people say, "Why are you upset?" That's still like a decent result.
It's a very good result, yeah.
So I was like, okay, I think I'm being a bit too hard on myself on that. So I was like, okay, another 3-2, like, going in the right direction. I'm really enjoying the list. And my 2 losses were to 2 of the best games in the army, 2 of the best armies in the game at the moment. Yeah. And they were really close losses, or one was a really close loss. One was a loss that, if I had done it differently, would have been a bit different. So
yeah. No, absolutely.
Overall, I had some really good games and a really good weekend. It was a really good event, and it was definitely worth the really long journey it took to get out there. But
I'm glad because we did peer pressure you into coming. No, I think it's a good show, man, and I think the meta is a little bit loopy in some ways at the moment, and I think there's only a few armies that can reliably and comfortably expect to cruise through those later rounds when there are some armies that are in very pushed places. Demons can do well, but demons are having to really scrap, I think, to be in that conversation. And you've obviously played really well. How do you feel about Tzeentch? Is that still the direction you'd want to go with the army?
Yeah. So obviously we've got this data slate coming up, so I'm holding off. Well, I say holding off. Like, luckily for me, I've got, you name it, demon, I've got it, so I can run pretty much any list. So I mean, it's not a case of, oh, do I need to buy this or not? I just play whatever I want to play at the time. So for me at the moment, I'm on the Tzeentch train. I think it's good, but I'm also playing it from a point of view of I love Tzeentch anyway. It's my favourite of the gods. So, but I know that if Tzeentch was to get hit quite hard in this data slate and not much else would, I think I jump on the Slanesh train. I think seeing that list do quite well at the moment, having a few conversations with people, and then seeing Hyder run that list in person on the weekend, has got me really excited to.
It looks to
want to run.
Fun. Yeah.
Well, I love really fast combat lists, and I really like. I've been toying with the idea of like 60 demonettes and like 18 fiends, and then going from there. So, but if not, because that's a if it happens scenario. If Tzeentch doesn't get hit, I stick with Tzeentch. The decision is, do I drop Bellacore or not? That's the decision. So we'll see. I have another a 60-man RTT this Saturday in Canterbury down my way.
Very exciting.
So same list I've been ran last weekend, so I'm quite excited to see that. And then I think next event is the London Open, so I'll have a look there and we'll see. But the data set, I think it's going to be quite interesting to see where we end up.
Well, that's exciting, and I think an RTT, when you've got all the reps and the experience from that sort of big event, will be great. Actually, if you're really nice to go and sort of run through it that way. Sweet, all right. Well, I will rattle through my games very quickly, and then we'll get into something else because we've gone in depth, boys. We've gone very in depth. So I took the GSC again. So GSC, as we know, are very good at the moment. I had Industrial Affinity Cult with all the usual sub-faction traits, a bunch of neophytes, supporting characters, Kelemorph, a couple of acolytes, and pure strain, pre-game moving, gene stealers, all of that stuff. But I was also having some fun, and I was just experimenting. I had 20 bikes, but I'd also brought some aberrants, 8 aberrants with a 3d6 charge out of Deep Strike, woo, and the Biophagus to amp them up. So he gives a 5-up feel no pain to one of the bite slabs before the game, which is actually very nice. Makes this one really, really chewy 10 mana bikes that just takes a lot of shifting, and then he can give the aberrants a 5 up, feel no pain. So you get these tough T5 -1 damage, 5 up, feel no pain, 3 wounds each, slab of wounds with hammers. Now they don't have that many attacks. So this is something people point out. Then their actual melee output sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired. Yes, and apparently I had 7 pints on the Friday night. There was some sort of malicious rumours in our 6++ chat because we went out for drinks on the Friday. John took an opportunistic photo of 7 empty pint glasses, sent it into our chat. My phone had died, so I wasn't in this conversation. Sent it into the chat and claimed that I had drunk 7 pints. No, because as people who know me know, I would have been on the floor and unable to do anything, and that would have been the end of my tournament already because I'm such a lightweight. So the aberrants I was really excited to use. I think the thing with the Biophagus is I love that the buffs that he can hand out, but the only unit he can reliably give buffs to is the aberrants because he can choose. And so if you are running him, it makes sense to run some aberrants, and I was keen to try them and see how we do. So I played Diego round 1, who Chris has played, so he's got 3 big demons, he's got some flamers, he's got infantry demons. In my experience, big monster demons isn't a massive problem for GSC, because they can't stop you getting angles on and killing all the stuff that isn't big demons, and then the big demons themselves aren't enough to play the mission and win the game most of the time. But what I had decided going into this was that the one thing I wanted to do this weekend was to get the aberrants into Scarbrand, because Scarbrand gives the aberrants +1 attack, at which point suddenly they've got loads of attacks and I could pop a bunch of buffs, +1 strength, reroll all wounds against monsters, and I'd mathed this out a bit and I was like, I'm pretty sure that one-shots Scarbrand most of the time. That looks pretty good. That'll be fun to do. And we got to his turn 2, he springs his attack, he brings some flamers in, and he pulls off a beautiful trap where he's got Scarbrand, some Corn Demons, some other bits and bobs, all tagged around the top of one of my bite squads, but then I absolutely ruined him because I'd taken the casualties from his attack from the middle of the squad and then took the bikes that he'd wrapped out from coherency failure, and then he was like, oh no, my trap hasn't worked, and he was stood in front of all my guns. But the aberrants went into Scarbrand and failed to kill him, and I was very sad. He was left.
How close did they come, Tom?
2 wounds. They forced 14 saves, damaged 3. He had 17 wounds at the time. So if he fails, he could. Yeah, I mean it was close actually when you put it like that. I was a little bit unlucky on the wounding, but it didn't make it through. And then Scarbrand was very angry and started chopping up aberrants. But they did hold him up for 1 turn, which was actually all I needed to then kill him and clean up that game. So Diego played it very well, very tenacious, but tough matchup for him. Second game played Space Wolves. Sam Nash. Space Wolves are really fun right now. If you have Space Wolves, go and play them. It's a very fun time to play them. You just have tons of cheap, angry units where you've got lots of melee, lots of melter just flying around. It's like Blood Angels on steroids at the minute. And Sam had some Wolfen. And I learned a couple of things. One, Wolfen just kill bikes for days because he sent 1 5-man into one of my 10-man bikes and it died straight away. I was like, what if I send the one with the 5 up, feel no pain in? They die as well. They die really hard. And actually, this game was a close game that I was looking. I'd done all right. I'd got first turn. I'd pruned off lots of his cheaper units, and I was feeling relatively in control. But then some Wolfen were basically going to break through to my backfield, which was potentially a massive disaster on Data Scry. But then 3 of them failed to kill the Kellamorph in melee combat. Which is just one of those moments in the game where you're just like, well, I don't understand that. I don't know how that's happened. I don't know how he's alive. But fortunately, I was then able to blast my way out. So I had a little bit of the old luck of the Laughing God there. And I played Sam before, and he's a lovely boy, and got the win. But that definitely had me very alarmed at quite what Space Wolves are capable of doing. Third game. What on earth did I play third game? Oh, God. Oh, I played Miles. Miles, who's a lovely, lovely man on a lovely, beautifully painted guard army. But it wasn't the conventional stuff. He didn't have Kazakin, didn't have mortars. He had the field ordnance batteries. He had a few other cool things. Oh, Rough Riders. They were beautiful. A Rogel Dawn. So it was a mix of stuff. He also had Sly Marbo, who came down and killed my Acolyte Icon Wall, which was hilarious. Just popped up, just shot the banner guy in the head, and then disappeared again. I was like, oh, I needed him. I like him. I want him around. In the end, Sly Marbo died on a Hail Mary charge into a 20 blob at the back, and when he reappeared the next turn, didn't make it through the Webbers, sadly for him. But So that was a good game, but I think Mars didn't know the matchup very well, and I was able to sort of outmuscle him, and I know how to play into guard. If they let you get at them, I can destroy that sort of infantry build pretty happily, because Webbers just love guardsmen. You fire Webbers at a guardsman squad, it's 12 hits and 4 are mortal wounds.
Yeah,
and it's just like
That's nasty.
there's not a lot of squad left once you do that a few times with your different bricks. And then next day I had Ed Watts, who is a brilliant player. He plays for Glasshammer these days. Space Wolves, it's the same deal, lots of melee Space Wolves. But Ed had a unit that some of you might now be familiar with, called the Desolation Squad, Desolators Space Marines, and these were artillery Space Marines. He had 10 of them, and they sat in the back ruin, and they fired lots and lots of rockets on my little purple head. Wasn't good. My poor little Gene Stealers were exploding all over the spot. They didn't like it at all. The bikes were really struggling with it. But the 5-up Feel No Pain squad was actually absorbing this much better than he'd initially thought. So much so that what Ed did was stuck a head out so they could fire their Dark Lance bit as well to kill that bike squad. At which point I was like, oh, no. And then I dropped 20 neophytes in and just killed all 10 of them. I was like, well, yeah, get in the bin, Desolation Squad. But sadly, Tide of Conviction, I've played Tide of Conviction into like fast melee Marines twice now. The White Scars, I lost to Rafa Harbinson at Beachhead, and both times it's just been really hard to stop like a breakthrough by a bunch of jump pack guys at some stage. I have to sort of play round him and then get on through the shooting, whereas he can just have a turn where he breaks through decisively in one go, whereas mine's like a 2-stage process jump shoot take on, which meant he just got ahead of me on the scoring, and I found it really hard to catch up at the end. And then final game, I had the Aberrants. I played Josh Wood on guard, and he just shot the absolute crap out of me in his turn 1. He went first. He killed all the bikes pretty much. So like 3 bikers left in one of the squads. He teleported his Kazakin in. Then I'd no-sold him by redeploying the blip, so they only had bikes to shoot at, but they did kill the Icon Ward. So he'd gone hyper-aggressive. And then I basically just gummed his tanks up with neophytes and managed to sort of scrap around for points and I killed all the infantry. That's always the crucial thing, to stop boots on the ground and stop him playing the mission. But it was so tight. I had to play very, 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 very focused to dig that out. Planted a couple of bombs, managed to drop a squad in, plant a bomb, take an objective at the end. And there was a point where I think if a neophyte runs, I had like 1 or 2 neophytes left on a top objective holding it, and if he runs, I might have lost. It was very, very close. So took it something like 83, 70, something, can't remember. But amazing game. Josh came on very strong, and I had to be very, very janky to pull that one off, using my endless walls of unkillable obsec. Oh, the Aberrants failed their charge from reserves as well. No. So they came in and they were like, oh, we're going to get this tank. Like, no, we're not. We're going to sit and wait.
Finished in style.
They did eventually kill a Lehman Russ after they'd been shot for a bit. They then walked out and killed it in the next turn. But they had one good game in the Space Wolves. They killed a bunch of stuff, killed the Chaplain on bike, killed a bunch of units. But they were really fun. Oh, in the Miles game, actually, there was one good moment with the Aberrants where I slung them through. They killed he had some Bullgrim. They killed all the Bullgrim. But then the Aberrants were just stood in front of his gun line, and this was the turn where all my neophytes and stuff had dropped in, and I popped. There's a strat you can pop where a big 20-man can't be targeted unless it's the nearest thing, which meant that I had a whole turn with this unit sat on the primary. He shot the Aberrants. It took his whole army to kill the Aberrants, but then I got another turn shooting with the neophytes to just keep demolishing all of his stuff with the Webbers and the seismic. So that was actually very big in that game. They died like heroes. Yes, John, you might say they were an aberrant pick for the army. Thank you for that. That's very good. I don't know that the aberrants will be in the next list. We'll have to see. I'm playing Jack tomorrow, so I'm going to test some different stuff. It got me thinking this event because I don't think the durability of the bikes cuts it into what we're currently dealing with, and if they're not achieving that job of being durable, then it's like that's hundreds of points.
Sounds like you need 10 more bikes.
No, I don't think 30 bikes is the one. I've attempted to go down to little packs of bikes just for the demos, and put that into vehicles and some other mission play, and try and spread the threats around a bit and have a lot more demo charges for killing specifically Space Marines, because they're back and they need to be killed. But we'll see. I need to try a few things out and see. A Death Strike is also one possibility, just for the lols of. blowing up
Making the desolation
artillery.
rings.
Yeah, that's it. Making them walk around because I can make it difficult ground, and then they've got to wander around. And they're trying to get out. It'd be quite funny, but we'll see. Right. Okay, that was Manchester. We had a great time. That was really fun. I was very chuffed to get a 4-1 in that environment. I think Ed fully deserved to win the game that I lost, and I'll keep plugging away at it. Maybe London Open will be the one. Maybe we'll be able to push a bit higher. Maybe the Meta will be even worse by then. Who knows? So now what we're going to do, we're going to briefly react to 10th edition, boys, because obviously 10th edition has been announced. So let's chat 10th edition. I mean, obviously we've also got the Lion coming out. We don't care about Dark Angels on this channel. They're a garbage army for bad people.
True.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fact.
But 10th edition, there is some interesting dimensions, right? There's not been a ton announced. We know it's simplifying the game. We know we're getting some unique cards. We know we're getting indexes, right? And we know that the goal is to strip back some of the rules. There'll be less stratagems per army, etc., etc. So there's a really interesting set of changes to kick us off. So I guess thought I'd give each of you the chance to sort of react and say some of your initial thoughts. We'll have a little chatter about that, and then we'll crack on. So, perhaps, Franco, do you want to go first, perhaps? What do you think of the news? What do you make of 10th edition as it's being sort of mooted at the moment?
So, when we heard about the rumours that they were going to strip it back, I was a bit like, not that. I wasn't very happy about it because I hated what. But all right, 7th edition was a very horrible edition towards the end.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fun edition to play. Even playing the armies that were winning, like I was running Zinch Demons, the Death Star, the Screamer Stars, and the 2 upgradable wind ones. It wasn't fun. But when they completely stripped it all back and they gave indexes, I hated it because the indexes were boring. There was no flavour to the game. It just wasn't fun. But when we got the reveal and we've seen some of the stuff we've seen, we're actually still getting like rules. It's not just like here's some data slates, use this till your cadets comes out. They're actually giving like the pages of rules and strategies and stuff. So I'm quite excited for that. I'm actually really excited for the cards.
Yes,
and looking at the cards that we've seen so far, I really like the stats of what they've done. I love what they've done with the weapons and that, including like the bliss skill, the weapon skill into the weapon itself, and they just the data slates just look so much more refined and they look quite sleek and quite nice. So I'm quite excited about that. Something I'm really upset about is the squatting of the psychic phase. Because I love the psychic phase. I'm a very I love my magic and my stuff, and I'm a very big psychic player. And I hate that they're just getting rid of it and just. Obviously, we don't know what we know roughly what they're doing. Like they're gonna include, I guess, the powers into data slates. So I guess all the psychics will have some kind of damagey ability, like a smite.
It feels like if honestly different psychers have different weird abilities, and that's how they represent it, that could end up being super flavorful, right? Rather than like the same 2 or 3 powers across a whole bunch of psychers.
Yeah, and 100% because like you get those psychic trees where there's 2 powers that are probably really good, 1 that's fairly decent, and then 3 that are like meh, they're crap. So if the thing is that some armies only have like 1 type of psyker, so like. Will you get like you can build your psyker this way and he can have this set of powers or this set of powers, or it'd be very interesting for armies like Thousand Sons or Grey Knights, like all the units have different powers, and so I'm quite interested to see what they do with it. But my initial reaction is I'm not that I'm a bit like upset about it, but it's still early days, isn't it? But overall, I'm quite excited to see what they do with it. I think what we've heard so far sounds quite good, and I like the tagline. What was it? Simplified, not simple, or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like that. So it's like it seems like they've learned from what I thought was a mistake of the whole 8th reset, and instead of a reset, it's more of a strip back while still keeping flavour there. So I'm excited. I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to get my hands on all the new demon cards and stuff like that, and hopefully. Nurgle was a little bit better as well because
fingers crossed.
Because I really, as much as I love the attention of that, I really want to run. Like I've got so many plague drones that I've had sitting on my paint station for ages, and I was like, when we got the first leaks of the codex, like they're going to be really good, and they're going to be really good, and then the book came out, and they were like, they're shit.
They were not good.
So fingers crossed. Like Nurgle is a lot better with these new cards, and just as like my initial, like my biggest hope. And demons are good in general. Like I want demons to still be good, but in general, I hope that they have much more of a balance with all the factions. I don't think you'll ever have a perfect game. There will always be 1 or 2 factions that are better than others. But so overall, quite excited for it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
With
very nice.
the psychic powers going onto the data slates or data sheets, whatever. And obviously you were saying like Tom, it could make it more fluffy and flavorful because they give each one's individual ones powers, etc. But then are they potentially going to fall into the trap of, as Franco just said, you get a psychic tree and only two of them are worth taking. So you're going to get all these characters that you'll never take because
Potentially,
they've
yeah.
got crap spells.
Potentially, yeah. That's the risk. If that's how and I haven't seen yet exactly how it works, and there is very much the risk with that unless you write interesting and useful mechanics across the different. But I think that's just 40k though. I think it's especially with characters. It's the lot in life of characters to be very interesting, but ultimately not quite good enough. I mean, you think about like the Biologist Putrefier, right, for Death Guard. This lad gives mortal wounds to a combat unit. He has only just started turning up in lists in like recent times. That was a great little unit at the time, but me and all other Death Guard players looked at it and went, Foul Blight Spawn. Yeah, gimme. Lovely Foul Blight Spawn. And that's just the way of it. Like, it doesn't matter if a unit is good, right? Like, we all look and veer towards those super good ones, and that's us, boys. That's us. That's in us. We've got to look to our own internal mechanisms.
Yeah, every faction as well has those characters that you just never see. Like until this codex, and even more recently, no one that wasn't a demon player knew what an Infernal and Rapturous was. Like,
Oh my word! It's so
I went to an event, and I just thought I'll have a fun, just take a bit of everything and take some stuff people don't take. And I took her only because she had a shooting attack. She didn't do nothing that she does now, really. And everyone was like, "What the hell is that? I've never seen that before." And I'm like, "It's a Slanesh lady with a big harp." Like, but now everyone has them.
That's
like,
amazing.
So, yeah, every faction like characters they cycle in and out, and every faction has the characters that you think, "What the fuck? I've never seen that before in my life." Like, so fingers crossed they get the balance a bit more right, and we see some of those more.
A soft spot for that. Like, I love the little weirdo ones. I want an excuse to run the stupid little bodyguard one for GSC, the Locust, but he is actually just not very good. He can intervene 6, and it's like, but why would he? What's he going to do when he gets there? He's awesome. He's got a sword, big cape. He intervenes, but he kills about 2 Space Marines and then gets kicked into the sun. So it's like, was it worth him going? Really, probably not. Probably better ways to use those models. Right, Chris, what do you reckon? What do you make of 10th Capitan?
I'm cautiously optimistic.
That's where I'm at. That's very much where I'm at. I feel good about it.
Everything they're saying, kind of. I mean, I'm excited because I didn't play 7th, so obviously the change from 8th to 9th was just kind of like they fixed bits, didn't they?
Added a couple of layers.
It was still the same sort of game, and I'm just excited for a completely a big change, really. You know, as I said before, we've been playing the same missions for 4 years. Kind of due just that as a change up.
Oh yeah.
I think knowing and that's just fun. I'm excited to do that. Like as Franco says, like they're seeing those new data sheets and seeing like the abilities onto them and just the way it's laid out. I just think seems like really interesting. I wasn't a fan of how they made certain elements like the micro elements of the game a bit simpler in 9th. Like you lost some of the janky stuff you could do, especially in the combat phase. And so, therefore, I guess I'm slightly worried about this whole we're going to make it a bit simpler kind of thing. I don't want them to remove the ability or like part of me is I really enjoy abusing the game mechanics to try and extract elements in like the combat phase and that sort of thing and the movement etc. And if they fine tune the rules so much that is just all completely taken away, I think that would be potentially disappointing. So hopefully they don't do that. And obviously there's really they're saying like 6 stratagems for an army. Your whole army rules on like a page or 2 or something. And will that potentially lead to the fact that some armies, their inherent strength of playing the particular game well, will it mean because the other armies don't have the opportunity to maybe find combos because they've all got the same amount of simple rules? Will that cause issues potentially?
Absolutely
if the depth isn't there for some armies to hunt around and find ways to deal with things because their rules aren't that long. I don't know, could that be a thing? I honestly don't know. But
it could well be a haves and have-not situation. It does depend a bit on the faction. And Shiruni, yes, they are adding reaction stratagems of some kind. So there's going to be some universal stratagems. There will be some reaction type ones, a la AOS.
They put some. Well, they made a big bit of emphasis as well, didn't they? Like, obviously, you get your 2-page set of rules, and it has all the army rules on it. But then you can. I don't know if it's only for certain armies, but they made a bit of a point of it. Of you can just swap that out with a specialist faction for your army. So I assume, like, if you want to run Spacemen, blah blah blah, then Ultramarines, or you can run Iron Hands, for example.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Of course, they've done that where each army has about, even if just 3 or 4 ways, you can kind of change it up.
I think that's what they're suggesting. But again, we haven't seen this yet. But I think in theory, it's not like you currently have where it's like, here are my Space Marine strats. Now I have a ton of Ultramarine stuff on top. It's like if you're going to go and play Ultramarines, you get these things. If you're going to go and play, if you're going to go and play Cult of Strife, you get these things. So rather than layering over the top, which I think obviously some players dislike, and is probably where a lot of the more egregious and unforeseen combinations come from, you're just saying, here are these different chunks of how you play it. And as ever, that's as interesting as players decide to allow it to be, is what I would say, right? If you want to run just the obvious best one, then it won't look very interesting. If you want to try all of the different ones, then there'll be lots of different things, and hopefully you get an evolving meta where different ones become relevant at different times, etc., etc. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see. Aaron, you got any other thoughts on 10th? I think the others have pretty much covered mine.
Yeah, no, I've been through my 5 stages of grief and I've accepted it now.
Yeah, you already just started playing, really. You're still, you're too young,
Yeah,
for
but
it to go.
it looks pretty good. If they go the way of World Eaters, because like you said, like Franco was just saying, with World Eaters, you've got these 6 strats and these warlord traits, and if you take the normal army, you can have them. But if you take the Red Angels one, which is that special one where it's demon kin only, and Angron has to be the warlord, then you don't get all their strats. You got to get all these different ones instead. So, like I say, it helps prevent that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really good fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who doesn't want a 4th Great Hive Fleet invasion?
Yeah, I think that Nid's being at the heart of it will be a good time.
The 4th Tyrannic War.
Davey will finally get a bunch more Tyranid models. So
that was me with Necrons in 9th. I was so excited for the Necrons because they had the new Catan, they had the Silent King, they had all the destroyers. I was so excited, and then they were shit, and it wasn't that exciting anymore. So
they might be good this time. You never know. We're going to find out. I'm excited for indexes. I think it'll be fun. Yeah. If indexes come with some strats, some sheets, at least some faction-specific rules that are interesting, then that'll be a good time. As long as there's enough going on.
It looks like they're going to do it better than they did last time.
Yeah, I think so.
Fingers crossed.
And I think it's worth saying. I just think it's so good that they are actually building on and refining the existing rules system to an extent, rather than just throwing the whole thing out and trying something completely different. Because I just think that's healthier, and it gives you a much better chance of achieving something resembling balance if you work with and to your existing rules, rather than being like, let's start over again.
I'm interested to see what they do as well with like secondaries. Like, are they going to keep secondaries, and like, are they just going to revamp it, like, rather than just like rename?
We just don't know what the missions look like yet, do we? We really don't. That'll be a big difference. If
definitely.
Yeah. I do love that they've done all the points are free, download day one, all the information, everything's there.
That's good to have.
Yeah.
That's good to have. Given that we're giving them thousands of pounds, the least they can do is give us some free rules once in a while. I think that's very nice of them. Thank you, GW. Continue to get extravagantly wealthy off our obsessive natures. Right, Swissly, Davey says, can we talk about how I got all the faction win rates correct now? Yes, we can. Despite our best efforts to talk about other stuff until the show was actually over, we are going to talk about pin the win rate on the faction. So just to remind the uneducated, we tried to guess. Lee Churchwood, your games are already shorter games, you bad man. We guessed the Arks of Omen win rates when the pack came out. We tried to guess where different factions would be sitting by about this time, after a little while of the Arks of Omen sort of pack being out. So we're going to revisit them. We're going to see how we got on, see how wrong we were, and try and think about why we failed so badly. So, Chris, do you have the original win rates anywhere?
Boom. Hopefully you can see that.
Nope.
Well, it's showing on my screen.
Weird.
I can see.
On the live preview, it looks like we've all just frozen. Interesting. Can anyone confirm whether you can see the overlay or not?
I can see them on what I'm looking at.
Perfect. That's good. Doesn't help me, but someone that can say it. Chris can see it. Yeah,
I can see it. It's fine.
Chris has got the win rates that we predicted. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That's really useful. Aaron has been and researched what the win rate of these factions across multiple levels. Aaron, do you want to tell people what your process of research for this was?
Yeah, just went on to stat check and obviously done it across just for Arks of Omen meta and done it across all play levels, all tournaments,
Great.
etc. to gather the total meta.
Yeah, so it's a go-wide take on the win rate across the Arks of Omen so far.
Instead of drilling all the way down into the specific sub-factions.
Yeah, and as StatCheck and others like them will tell you, statistics can tell you exactly the truth of everything all the time. End of discussion. Cool. Okay, so on that basis, Chris, do you want to pick one and we'll go from there?
Shall we start at the top or the bottom?
I think we should start at the bottom because it's funnier.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was, for some reason I didn't write the name of the person that did this. So one of us three, went for Death Guard, and they gave them 43%. That was probably Davey.
I'd never. Yeah, Davey's the one giving out 40s. I'd never do that, Death Guard. Thanks for the thumbs up, Chantal. We appreciate that. So, probably Davey, 43 for Death
Davey's
Guard.
not here, so it's definitely Davey.
Yeah. So, Aaron, how are Death Guard doing in Arks of Omen?
It was a pretty good guess. They're at 45%.
Oh my goodness, Davey's really smart. Flip. Well done, Davey. Okay. I mean, that is, I guess, pretty much... That's not unreasonable. They've had a rough second half of 9th Death Guard, haven't they? It's not been a fun time for them. They can't close on things quickly enough, and it's a very shooty meta. I'm glad you're happy, Davey. That's good. This bodes well for the rest of this segment.
Yeah.
Oh, poor old
probably
Death
guess who
Guard.
they're above, Davey.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That is very good going, Davey. I think we can call that a success. That is a successful prediction. Well done. Who else is down there, Chris?
There was one other one there, which was the Necrons. This was another Davey guess.
Okay.
He went Necrons at 44%.
Yeah, but we know that he hates Necrons and has an agenda against them because he's said so before. So, Aaron.
Necrons are sitting at 47%.
Oh, he's good at this. He's really good
Oh.
at
Mainly being held up by James Marsden, but apart from that,
Yeah, Flip. Again, that's a very accurate guess.
yeah, 2 out again.
He's only 3% out. Yeah, fair enough, Davey. Yeah, very good. I thought they might be a little higher just because they feel so oppressive sometimes, Necrons. I'd have thought they'd
Yeah, but
be
he's used to playing armies that are at that sort of level. So I think he's just got like an innate ability to test.
He's well placed to comment on the 40% win rate armies because he's playing one. Oh, Davey, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. And I agree with you. Turns out being slow is rubbish. Right, okay, where are we going next, Chris?
Okay, well, in the 45 to 50% bracket, there was nothing. We made no predictions.
Sorry, Davey.
We were just all very negative Nancy's. But then we had quite a host in the 50% bracket.
Okay.
So we'll go with Davey again, because Davey said Chaos Demons would have a win percent of 53%.
I think he's going to be right again here. Aaron?
56%.
Oh, he's very good. He's
I
very
mean, that's
close.
not that close.
That is
I feel
56 puts them in the in the upper echelons, I think.
Yeah, you're shit, Davey.
But it's
No,
not
it's
in the
not a
bracket
bad
that
guess.
he's put him in here, so he
Yeah,
didn't
exactly.
get it right.
It's not a
Same
bad
with Necrons.
guess, but I would say I think Demons have I would say Demons have done better than almost anyone was anticipating. Yeah. I think going into this meta, I don't think people did not call Demons being as successul as they have been, and indeed they've been so successful.
I definitely.
But you were always going to back yourself.
I definitely did.
Well, I think the entire Chaos community have sort of diverged onto Demons, and it's a big part of it. Okay, sweet. Next one. Well done, Demons. Though I'm glad one of the Chaos factions is hanging on in there.
Yeah. Ooh.
One of them has to, right? Right. So we come to myself, and I said Grey Knights would be at 53%, but I'm feeling that might be slightly too high.
Grey Knights is 47%.
Oh, that is rubbish.
It's all those rubbish Grey Knight players.
Yeah, if only we used to rubbish Grey Knights.
Are there any good ones out there?
Oh dear.
What a letdown.
Thanks, Ed, for explaining what a margin of error is. I'm not a numbers person. I'm a words person. I make no apologies.
Let's just say you get it right if it's in the right bracket that you put it in.
Yeah, if you're in the right
so
bracket.
Davey has got
got 2. Oh no, he's got none. I think Davey's been close with those, though. To be honest, I think the
it
first.
feels like he's being close.
Yeah, it feels close, but actually, technically, when you look at it that way, he is not.
Technically.
Okay, So Grey Knight's doing significantly worse. That's a shame.
That's disappointing. Damn you, Dave. Right, next one. Tom, this is you, mate. Tau, you said 54%
Or
win rate.
54. Aaron?
47%, mate.
Whoa! My
Wow.
word! The bottom's fallen out. That's horrific.
Yep.
It says Warhammer is only mass. That is untrue. It is also occasionally picking weird characters and
That's
giving
off
them
a
shiny swords.
decent number of games as well.
Yeah.
That's a real fall from grace for Tau.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's remarkable. 47%.
Oh.
Goodness gracious. But also, yay, fuck Tau. Right, next up.
Okay. Okay, so now we come to another of mine. The AdMech.
Oh.
You got this well wrong, didn't you?
I got this. I was so wrong because I'm 60% win rate with them. So my guess of 51% is way too low, which I expect Aaron's about to prove.
Yeah. No, it's 44%.
44. Flipping heck.
So
We've not done very well at this, have we, boys? That's one of that's. I don't know. Actually, I was off by just as much. So you and me are more wrong than Davey so far.
So far.
We'll see. We'll see how we go. Right, next up.
Okay, so this is you, Tom.
That's me. Right.
This is you, and you went very niche here, and you went for Creations of Bile.
I went Creations of Bile. Yeah.
And you said Creations of Bile would have a 50% win rate.
50%.
So they're 45% on their own. But when they're souped with demons, they are 53%. I did look that one up for you.
Okay. So in the middle, somewhere.
It's because no one ever talks about Bile now, but when
it was relevant at the time.
They were very relevant.
Yeah. And I think I still feel like they have a little bit more game. Jack Asher, if you're listening, they've still got game, buddy. You're going to be fine. We're going to make it work. Yeah, fair enough. 5% out. Yeah, it's starting to sound like Davey's actually better at this than we are, Chris, which is a bit of a shame. But let's do another one and see.
Still a long way to go, Tom.
Do another one and see how it holds up.
Okay, well, this is Davey's.
Okay.
And he went for Tyranids.
Oh, Tyranids. Okay.
The much nerf faction. And Davey said 52% on Tyranids.
Okay.
So, Aaron, take it away, sir.
43%.
43%.
Oh, what?
That's a 9% gap. But to be fair to Davey, it's only the faction that he knows inside out. So, he's still got it on us though. That's one dud.
Which I think is the biggest difference we've had. Maybe
that is the biggest. I say heart overhead. The heart got involved there.
Yeah,
Davey. I fully understand. And John, you're absolutely right. No Spacewalls on here is great. Again, who saw that coming? No, I didn't see that coming. That was ridiculous. Like I'm loving. That's the one bit of the current meta I'm like, yay! Good to see Space Wolves out. I'm down with that. Have fun. Kill stuff.
I'll give you a special one at the end then for the most surprising one. But we'll continue.
Okay,
There's
nice.
More surprising one than Space
We're moving up now to some predictions about what we thought would be slightly higher.
These are the big boys.
These are the big boys. Yeah.
So let's start off with myself. So I went Craft Worlds at 55%.
Okay.
Craft Worlds are at 52%.
Oh, that's a good guess. But still not the right bracket.
No, still not the right bracket.
Have we had a guess in the right bracket yet? No, we haven't.
Demons. No, Demons wasn't actually, no.
No.
We've set the brackets out wrong. We need to adjust them so that we can be right.
Yeah. Craft Worlds are kind of, they've got so much of performing well.
That's still good though, right? Yeah. And obviously Vic Video's Craft Worlds are 100%. So
absolutely.
That's very good.
Okay, so Tom.
Okay. This isn't going to go well. So I've gone 56 for Drakari.
56% for Drakari.
Well, we've got a new record. The furthest apart is 45%.
45. Oh no! Oh no!
Jeez.
Oh dear, that's a shame.
I think that was a bit more hopeful thinking.
That was hard. That was hard for sure. But also, I've 60 for me with Drakari. I think thereabouts. Oh, that's pretty bad though. That's I've got to wear that on the chin. But I don't. Yeah, Drakari. They've not had a great time in this edition.
No. Well, no,
They've had it really rough.
Today.
They've had it really tough.
Yeah, it's been rough for them. Well, after that shocking attempt, we've got Davey, and I think Davey might be closer. Orcs at 55%.
Orcs are at 52.
Oh, so still the wrong bracket, but
That's okay though. That's pretty close. That's
That's
Davey
easy.
again, isn't it? Davey is best at this. There's no getting around it. Davey's Davey's been good at this, and you're right. Davey is the faction I know inside out. Useless. Useless.
Okay, this next one I am excited for.
Okay.
Tom, you said
Oh
Votan.
no, this is gonna sting.
You said Votan would have a 58% win rate.
Hmm.
It's
Aaron.
not as bad as the Drakari one.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 49%.
Okay. That's still a 9% miss, but that is not as good.
Oh, you redeem yourself later.
Oh, do I? Oh, good. Okay, it's all gonna turn up for me at the end. Come on, boys.
So I went for Custodies at 55%. I think that's probably going to be a bit too high, and it'll be like
I think you might be on it. No, I think you might.
Yeah, it was
I think that's
53%.
close.
53. Very good.
Yeah.
Still the wrong.
Does that count? Because I literally just changed my answer.
You're in the right bracket. So
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know actually. We'll see. I think I'm probably not in the right bracket for this one. I said Harlequins would still be good at a 56% win rate.
you're a couple of brackets out. They're at 48%.
48%.
That is
God,
a
they finally did it. They finally did it. They finally put them in the bin. Daniel Hammond, you're right. Votan don't have the best secondary game. You could say they have a steaming pile of dog shit for a second. And certainly it is strange that I rated a faction I've literally still not lost to at 58% win rate. It's only been out for however long. Okay, so that's the 55s. We're going up to the big boys now.
Right, okay, here we go. Right, I reckon you're very close with this, Tom. You said GSC would have a 58% win rate.
58%.
And I remember I
higher,
said
isn't it?
it'd be 57%.
You
So I'm
did say
curious to
57.
see.
Aaron, what we got?
58%.
Ah!
Oh, nice.
Boom! There we go.
Nice. He knows
It's a
his back.
strike. It's a
If you
strike.
define it down to your specialist ones, it goes up to 63. But yeah, overall 58%.
Don't know who these GSC players dragging that down are, but up your game, boys.
Yeah, it is. And then, so now we hit the big calls. So I said Iron Hands. Obviously, I secretly meant Iron Hands successors. And I assume.
Oh
Aaron
yeah, it
flipped
just didn't
for
fit
this.
in the graphic, right?
Yeah, it didn't fit. You can't. There's no room there. I said Iron Hands would be 64%.
57.
Is that Iron Hands pure?
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
about successors?
Iron Hand successors are in the high 60s, I reckon, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
they probably are, but I'm not going to look it up for you.
Alright.
It's just, I've only just started going into it. It's a bit difficult.
Yeah,
so-
Aaron's accidentally become our
'cause you've got-
stats
you'd have to
fishing.
Yeah,
select
Aaron's our
each of the-
statistician.
You'd have to select each of the individual sub-factions, and I don't know what they're called. So.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
okay. But I think the wisdom on this is that the successors are definitely posting higher numbers, so I don't think you're a mile out there, Chris. So what did you say?
Oh, I said 64.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
57.
Yeah.
Iron Hands are 57. Yeah. Successors, which are Whirlwinds of Rage and
Master Arsen's. They have been pushing 60s numbers, but I guess you have to average those out as well, so it's probably still a little high.
Yeah. Okay, so then we've got Davey coming in. Davey made a bit of an assumption here because, as they often say on other podcasts, Guard will never have a high win rate. Guards and Orcs, because of the size of their player base. But Davey went for Guard at 65%.
Yeah, it's a little bit out. Is this a new record? It was 53.
53. That's a 12% gap.
Davey.
Yeah, that is more than previously. Nice.
Oh, there you go. So if you want Signs of the Forge and Whirlwind of Rage,
Master Artisans and Whirlwind of Rage, I think is
right,
the
Master
typical
Artisans and Whirlwind of Rage, 65%.
Yeah,
There you
I'm
go.
surprised him.
So once you average those two, you're bang in the middle, I think, Chris. Yeah.
Nailed it. And
Stats can say whatever you want them to.
yeah, exactly. And finally, we have a Tom prediction.
Davey says recount. Stop the count.
Tom,
Right.
the final prediction is Tom. He went Dark Angels and he went 60.
And I would like to say that I was very alert to the rubbish that Dark Angels were going to unleash to us long before a lot of people were making noise about it, because I think we have the advantage of having played them. Hello, Dom. Welcome. Having played Dark Angels a lot locally, I just knew this was going to be rough. But let's see how they actually turned out.
59%.
59%. Ah, there we go. It's only 1% out. Take that.
Wrong bracket though. So
yeah, wrong bracket, so it's still a loss. But I'm happy with those last two then. I'm
you put it out the bag.
better at
After
predicting
the
the top of the
Votan-
meta than the middle.
After the Votan mishap and
That
the
is a
Zakari
disaster.
mishap.
The Votan one is an absolute disaster. So that's been the win rate on the faction. That's actually a lot of fun to do. I think we're going to wait till we've had a balance slate. And then once we've had time to process that, we might make a load more guesses for sort of the end. I think it'll be fun to do like the end of the meta, right, and have one more wave of guesses before, and then we could do it again with indexes. That'll be really fun as well. Wonderful. Okay, great, Dom. Yeah, you've missed us chatting about demons. Dom Maidlow's demons win rate again higher than the 56. He's very, very good with his demons. Shall we get some listener questions in? I assume we've got them in Discord, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's on Discord.
Let's drag up that Discord
Let me just get rid of
and
this
do some questions.
control.
Obviously, if anyone wants to be a mad lad and super chat a question, we're not going to stop you. Chris needs nice things. Get Chris some nice things. Right, here we go. Actually, where is it? Have I closed it somehow?
I'll edit this bit out. It's fine.
Do you want me to look it up?
I can't see the questions in the Discord, which is a bit funny. Oh, that's because I was already on that tab. I'm good at stuff. Right, okay. So we did the stratagem stuff before.
Yeah, I agree, Swifty. I do think Tom won. He got one bang on, and then one that was one out.
Yeah, and there were two of the meta-defining ones as well, so I'm pretty happy with that, to be fair. But sorry, Drakari. Right, we'll start with Lee Jones. So Lee Jones says, now that we are closing out 9th, which did you enjoy more, 8th or 9th edition?
Ninth. Not even close.
Ninth.
I think 8th was actually a pretty crap edition. I think 9th was a lot better.
And you have to say, when you consider what has happened to us as people and as a nation during 9th, for 9th to have still been more fun than 8th should tell you plenty, because the world was absolutely fine during 8th, and it's still more rubbish than 9th.
Exactly.
We lived through basically the apocalypse over the last few years, and 9th still managed to be a good time. What do you think, Chris?
I have rose-tinted glasses for 8th.
Okay.
It was the first edition I got into and learnt the game. And my Necron Flying Gunline list I played for quite a few months. And that was like my favourite ever army. I really enjoyed the sort of the jank you could pull in the combat phase as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think there were absolutely some issues with a whole multitude of things, and I think the game's obviously in a lot more of a stable position now with the fact that DW are also supporting the game, and I think that's the fundamental difference, right? Like currently they're putting a lot of effort into the balance updates and all those sorts of things, and trying to work with what they're hearing the public perception is. So for that reason, 9th is better because it's working towards it, and that's why I'm cautiously optimistic that 10th will be the best.
I think the speed of that reaction and that sort of feedback pattern is much stronger now, isn't it? And things get changed a lot quicker.
Yeah, I do have some nice memories of 8th as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think the other thing we've all said before, the sheer destructiveness of 9th at times, I think that's quite grueling. It's been a tough game. You have to play with your mind switched on, or just your army just goes, which is you could get. There was a bit more stuff tickling each other in the middle in 8th, which was a good time. Thank you very much, Tom. Yeah, exactly. You got to have some hand grenades now and again, right? There were a few crazy balance issues on release in this meta, and I think I think in ninth at the sort of the tournament scene, there were a few ugly moments in the tournament scene. It didn't really filter down to the level of sort of local games quite as badly, but it definitely, there were some ugly moments on the balance side of things. I definitely got frustrated with it in the midst of it. The sort of Harley's Town Nids era was a bit rough. But I think that's something they're going to work very hard on next time. Hopefully, fingers
It's just
crossed.
frustrating when a new codex comes out and it's broken and you just can't beat it, and then very shortly afterwards another one comes out and that's broken as well.
And you can't beat that.
It just became this cycle, Custodes, after the Admech and Drakari, where you had, Custodes, Tau, and it was just like one army after the other came out, and it was broken every time.
Because Drakari was basically the last fairly balanced book, that's what I think, pretty much, and then it was all bullshit after that, right?
Yeah, but you know, if you release them all at the same time, it's actually probably fine at full strength. All
Yeah,
at the same
potentially.
Because that's the problem. They're all done in that sort of vision, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is one consequence of the quicker response cycle, is that now they adjust the game, weaken things, and then new stuff comes out, which actually compounds the issue, right, within the release cycle. So, Desolation Marines era was horrible. Yeah, we're living in that now, but I kind of, who gives a damn? We're nearly home and dry now. If you want to table me with some Go Marines from the back of the board for a couple of months, that's fine. I will kill you when they change the rules for them later on. My moment will come. Right, okay, so what we got next? We've got... Oh, I like this one. What do you think is going wrong with Votann? Do you think they need changes, and if so, what? Gelmaris, I mean, they need a complete rewrite is what they need. They wrote them a book which was all about ludicrous killing efficiency, and was a bit lopsided in other ways. And then obviously because of community reaction, they bottled it and scaled them back and had started pointing these things for the mad things they'd given them, and then they didn't have enough units left and they're too easy to play around. Good players have too many solutions to them and they don't have a way to play the game outside of literally move and shoot and hope that pans out. So I mean, they're still young. They'll get new releases, they'll get a redo in the future. I think there's some interesting stuff there with judgment tokens. You just have to do it right and in a way that's a bit more logical and a bit less insanely overtuned. So yeah, it was a big sales pitch that was aborted halfway through. Basically, that's what happened, right? It was like if they decided just before all the new Marine supplements came out in 8th. Imagine if they'd just been like, actually, nah, don't worry about it, and just ramp the Marines points up, right? It was the same, just pulling the rug out from under it at the last minute. But I guess it's good that they did that. I'm very fond of Votann. I've enjoyed the couple of games I've played with my little 500 points. Then they were ludicrous. They seem ridiculous, but we'll see. I think they'll need another couple of runs before they work out what their place is going to be. How many bolt rounds?
Question in the chat from Brighthammer.
Oh, sure. What's the question from Bright? Oh, thank you, Brighthammer. If you were to pick only 3 stratagems to keep going into 10th for your current main faction, what would you keep? Anyone want to field this first?
For orcs, I'd keep get stuck in, lads. What's the
ramming speed, Aaron? It's ramming speed.
That's it, ramming speed. And orcs is never beat, probably, because it's just fun.
I think you have to put Kareen in there, and consequences be damned. Kareen is awesome. Who cares if it never happens?
Kareen's just too. If it made it explode, yes, but because it doesn't.
I just love it. It's so fun. How about you, Franco?
The thing is, with the demon strats for this new book, there's a few good ones, but there was never any like, oh my god, they're amazing ones. I guess no fallback on a 4+ for Beast and Nurgle would be a decent one.
Yeah.
This one only because of Be'lakor, but Impossible Elegance, which is the Slaneshi character one where transhuman the hit in combat, but only really for Be'lakor. And then if I was to pick another one, maybe Banner of Blood for Bloodletters, the 3d6 the highest
you
charge.
want it. You absolutely want it.
Because that's the only thing for me that actually makes Bloodletters kind of worth taking. Apart from that,
Maris was agreeing with you in the chat.
I don't think that's the. Apart from that, I don't know. I'm gonna say they're probably the best ones, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Chris?
It will have to be the 2 shooty Admech ones. The one which means I get to auto wound you on 4s.
That old classic. Yeah.
And the one I get to fire you, get to fire at you with 80 rapid fire shots. Like those 2 are reasonably strong.
Pew, pew.
And the third one, maybe the auto pass morale for 1 CP if you're on an objective.
Nice.
That's really That's really tasty. Or auto advance the Dune Striders, the Las Chickens, 6 inches.
And I'd take Return to Shadows for GSC every time. I'd take amp up the damage on the seismic weapons, and
Auto shots on your demos.
yeah, the auto shots on the demos, because that's all I ever do really. And auto advance some pure strains, but they'll just have to not be in the list after all. That's fine. Okay. Thank you very much for that question, Right Hammer, and for super chatting. You're an absolute star. We appreciate that a lot. Chris can go out and buy himself a nice admech. Right. Okay. So next question in the Discord was, how many bolt rounds would it take to bring down a rampaging Davy-Fex?
One.
I imagine is a Carnifex, but instead of screaming and killing, it sort of jokes at you as it runs towards you.
I think it's one, because he would feel so bad about making you spend the money on more than one bolt. So he'd only ever take one to take him out.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it'd be. I don't know what the stat profile is on a rampaging Davy-Fex. Is it -1 damage, for example? That might be relevant. You've got to factor these things in. John says, which quirky rule do you all want to see carry over into 10th? What's the quirky rule you'd like to see carry over into 10th?
What's the quirk? Like the flail over spilling, quirky rule.
Yeah, he gives the example of like flails spilling over damage. But
No, because I don't like that rule.
I bet you don't, Orc.
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
I'm sure there's loads of quirky rules out there.
Yeah, there's loads. It just comes.
I just can't think of any right now. Good one, Scrivo.
Fight last, please. Let's keep fight last. I like fight last.
I just want to get rid of fucking auto wounding on like hits of 4s and 5s.
Yeah, because I think John's follow-up question was like, yeah, what would you like?
Of course you don't like it.
John would like to know what rules.
Bad rule. I hate using Bellicle because everyone was like 50 fucking 4+ to hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I agree with that though. John gave the example of exploding sixes as a mechanic he'd like to see disappear, and I think some of those melee and shooting efficiency ones are a bit tedious, especially when they end up turning everything.
On 6s, I don't think they're too bad. Maybe you could cap them, but when you can knock them to 5s and 4s, it's the issue that we have with Kazakins as well. That's stupid. Like it's when you start adding and making armor. Oh yeah, this armor can do this role, but better, and it's just like that's where the issue comes, you know.
Yeah, so. I enjoyed things like phase caps, and then but I don't like next layer rules that ignore them. That seemed like one more place to go to than was needed. I felt like phase caps introduced some interesting possibilities for big models.
It was like top trump rules, wasn't it? Like I've got this rule, I got this rule, and then it was like everyone's got invuns, and it's like, oh, now loads of stuff ignores invuns, and then we get like demon saves. It's just like boom, 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 boom. Like I counted this and I counted this, and it's silly.
So it's whether maybe I don't know, but either they're going to sit down with all this stuff and work out how to make it all fit together better, or they'll probably be like, shall we just forget that we went to that crazy place and try and strip a few of these things out. But I think that's it. I think in the mechanics of damage and resilience, because of how destructive the game got, they had to go to some really weird places to deal with it, basically. And so hopefully they can avoid that. Right then, let's talk wargaming. Let's have your question. So he's got a question for the one true Demon Lord. People have been saying Mono Slanesh may be the way to combat guard. ... Thoughts?
I think Mono Slanesh is really, really good. Really good. Because it's just so much fast pressure and, crap ton of attacks. And against guard, they're amazing. I don't think they're better than the Monos Inch into guard. Speaking from personal experience of playing the Monos Inch, I haven't played the Mono Slanesh into it, but I've seen the Mono Slanesh go into it. I think the Monos Inch just has slightly bit more play because it can take like mortars better, for example, or whatever. But by no means is Mono Slanesh bad into guard because you can get into the lines early.
Yeah.
You're really good at being able to trap them, wrap them. Like Demon that's touch guardsmen die. Like there's no question on that. Fiends touch most things, especially with the buffs, they die. So I think Mono Slanesh is really good in the gun. I actually think Mono Slanesh is probably a bit of a sleeper faction for demons.
I think we're going to see
maybe overshadowed by Disciples and Zinch at the moment. But I do think Zinch is incredibly powerful as well into the shit now. So.
Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. I think we'll see more of that, Sinesh. That the build that Lennon ran. I think that'll pop up a bit more. People will want to try it a bit more.
Yeah, part of me kind of wants the Zinch to get nerfed a bit because I kind of really want to try out the 1A Sinesh, but I don't want to do it because I want to stick with the Zinch while it's at least, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Right then. Are there any rules from other GW game systems that you would like to see coming to 10th? Are there any that you hope don't come from other systems to 10th?
Oh, I don't. Sorry, I don't want to say. I don't think it's going to happen, but I just want to get this in before anyone else gets in. The Sigma, the Sigma double turn thing.
Oh, never the double turn.
Please don't do that because that kills the game. Please don't do that. That's the only thing I don't want in.
Don't think in a gun game like this you can.
No, it wouldn't work. No.
That'd be horrifying. How about you guys? Anything you'd like to see or not like to see?
I think there's always been a lot of discussion about in general, the gaming systems. Obviously, they have this alternate unit activation, so like Legion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a discussion about how that would be potentially fair. Is it Kill Team does that?
Yeah.
Yes, Kill Team does. Warcry also does.
And that would be fair in as much as you immediately remove that Alpha Strike option. My concern is that it just works for small games because it would take too long potentially otherwise. But,
that's an interesting one, isn't it? I'd have to see it done to fully appreciate. I've not really played Legion.
When we start playing Legion properly,
when we finally start playing Legion, any day.
I agree, though, Gav Morris. I think it doesn't work for such big.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I really enjoyed the snappiness of Warcry in particular, of the smaller GW games. That's been my favourite one to play. It feels very straightforward. You can get into it very nicely. But I just don't know what mechanics from that would translate. I mean, that too has reaction type elements to it, right? And I think that is nice to have. And it sounds like they're going to have stuff like that in this.
I like a small amount of reaction. I mean, you technically have it in some of the things you've got, like transhuman, and that is a reaction. But I wouldn't want to see you just hit and wound come in like you've got in Warcry.
Yeah, for sure. Okie dokie, and then balanced data slate is coming and may possibly be the last. What changes would you like to see it bring? What do you hope they don't leave it as is? Thank you very much. Just make stuff. I mean, just deal a little bit with all our outliers and bring up our very, very low ranking ones. Give CSM and whatever the other garbage ones that we didn't foresee were from the pin the win rate. Give all of that a little tiny nudge to get it home, and trim GSC, trim the top Marines, and trim what was the other one? Maybe Demons a tiny bit.
No,
little tiny.
Please, no.
Do you think you need to push the bottom ones up though? Do you reckon you just need to push the other ones down?
I've said I'm gonna take Iron Warriors to an event, so I need someone to push them up. Otherwise, I'm gonna go 0-5, which I don't really want. I would give CSM something. I just struggle to see what the game is for CSM at the minute in this environment. They need something. I don't know what it is, but
yeah. Let's talk wargaming. Dom, how would you boys fix indirect fire? It's a bit much facing 3 guard on the week, 3 times guard on the weekend of shell shots after all the mortars.
Yeah, Jack Davis Fletcher has it. Remove core from indirect. It works for Night Spinners. It works for Eldar indirect. I think it'll work for this stuff. It's just kill that efficiency, that extra level of efficiency. Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine.
I think just not letting them benefit from things like ignore to hit modifiers or plus ones like it just shoots on what they've got.
Yeah, completely. I think that's it. Not letting them slap force multipliers and benefit from sort of things that strip defenses, all that stuff. That's what's made it egregious. Definitely. There was a fun question from Gastronauticon in the chat, which says that the end of the Ark of Omens series is apparently going to end with Trazyn the Infinite swooping in to steal something. And he says that after this dastardly deed, Trazyn wants to complete his exhibition with a Plus installation. Trazyn the Infinite can only be bothered to collect one of us. Which one would he choose? So who is Traz in the Infinite going to steal from the Plus to put on display?
But it can't be you because you are Trezan the Infident.
Oh yeah, I do that. I do that. I steal people for our team, so I can't be stole. Can't hustle a hustler. It's Davey's right. It's Paul, isn't it? He's got to tell.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's Paul.
You gotta
It's Paul.
have-
He's like such a unique
yeah.
individual creation of
Little
life.
window sort of winds down, and Paul goes, "Only wounds on 4s," and then it winds back up again. Yeah, I think it probably would be Paul. And it depends if he's lonely and he wants company. Stealing Stuart would be a good spot because Stuart will just talk forever. I reckon.
Yeah.
Very happily about all the
Absolutely.
games, and Trazin could just have wonderful deep chats about Blood Bowl with Stuart for hours and hours and
Just
hours.
anything, literally any topic.
Stuart just goes. Stuart is just so. I think if Trazin wants to maximise his sort of value from someone who's sort of stuck in a jar, I think Stuart's the one because he will just natter all day long. Right. Okay. Anything else? Jack Davis says, "How many points will Tom batter me by in tomorrow's game?" Get out of here, Jack. I don't buy any of that nonsense.
What's the matchup?
Well, it'll be GSC for me. I believe it's guard for Jack at the minute, but I don't know what he's playing. So
Go on, Jack.
Go on, Jack. Smash me,
So I
mate.
reckon by
I probably will be experimenting
19
a little bit.
points.
19 points in it. Feels like that's about right for guard GSC. We'll see. I have no idea, Jack, but we'll see. I'm trying to adapt things and adjust things a little bit from the event, so I can't make any promises for how that list will play. Right, we've got a fun one from Chen, who is proposing a game of faction-based Shag, Marry, Kill. So, for Shag, what is one faction you haven't touched competitively but are open to getting jiggy with in the near future? There's Tyranids, right? There's going to be a ton of Tyranids coming out, and it's going to be hard not to acquire at least some Tyranids in the wash of box sets, I reckon. How about you guys?
If someone painted it for me, it'd be Orcs. But
Orcs. Okay. Well, John Scribbner's army's out on loan if you want to borrow that for a bit.
Might be Chaos.
Chaos? Franco?
I'm boring. I'm loyal to.
Yeah, he's
Demons.
married.
my.
He's married.
I'm not moving from the demons.
Yeah.
Maybe if the only exception would be if Dark Mechanicus got released, I would have a go because I've been looking forward to
Have
Dark
a go on the Dark Mechanicus, lad.
but we're cooler because chaos. But apart from that, I have no plans on moving from demons.
Cool. Well, that leads us nicely to the marry section, Franco. So it sounds like you're married. You're married to demons.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I'm married to the Jakari, but they're the Jakari. They would understand if I strayed. I think they're all right. They're all right with that business. How about you guys?
I would marry Craftworld Elder.
Craftworld Elder. Okay.
No, they might be Orcs. They're
That's
just
an
in so
arranged
much fun.
marriage, Chris, because you're down for it, but you've never actually met them or played them
No, it's for they're there
yet.
preparing themselves for me.
Yeah, you're getting ready.
Yeah.
What did you say, Aaron?
They might just be Orcs. They're just really good fun.
Yeah, Orcs are they feel a more natural fit for you in some ways than
You want to
Tau.
marry someone that's going to make you laugh and keep you entertained, you know?
Right, and then finally, Kill. What iteration of a particular codex could you happily throw bound and gagged into a sinkhole, never to be seen again?
Any Tau? I would say I think we can all agree with that. Any Tau.
Yeah, as I've talked about it last time, Custodes. I don't care about Custodes. Throw them away.
Tyranids, just to piss off.
Just to wind Davey up.
Just to wind Davey up.
They already have been chucked into the sinkhole, haven't they? Votan, I think.
Votan. Oh, I like Votan.
No, but
that
you
was
just
a fun
kick them
game.
and they'd
Thanks for that
fall in,
question.
wouldn't they? They don't have to sink as far.
That's true. Dom, Shag, Marry, Kill, Jakari characters. I mean, I think you probably want to get rid of the homunculus, don't you? Because he's the creepiest looking one of the ones. And then flavour to taste with the Archon and the Succubus. Very nice.
Whatever you fancy for that particular night.
Killing Archon
about
is
Lilith?
impossible. Oh, you've not met my Archon, Jack. He goes. He'll die. He'll die every time. Right. Are we out of questions? I think we might be out of questions. So unless anyone, this is last chance saloon, guys. You can bung a question in, but otherwise we will disappear.
It's been a pleasure.
It has. It's been
Unfortunately,
really
there's no
fun. Thank
massive
you once
delay.
again to this enormous number of people who've turned up and commented. This is
It's
amazing.
been consistent. Last week we hit a high of 32, but we were also, all over the place. But this time we've been in the 20s the whole time.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's good.
Thanks for everyone for contributing as well.
Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. I think that takes us to the end then. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, do you think Battleline in 10th will work like AOS? I have a feeling that it will, yes. I think you'll get different types of Battleline depending on the faction that you pick. And that's quite fun. That encourages sub-faction building and builds to different faction strengths, but we'll see. Looking forward to seeing what they do with that.
Yeah, that'd be a cool, a nice way of going about it, I think.
It means there's an outside chance of Battleline aberrance, and we all know we want that.
That's the dream.
Good. Right. 28 average if you include you guys. Yeah, fair enough. We have watched us all night as well. Thank you, everybody. We will see you soon. We have been the Plus. We love you all. Stay safe out there. Have a good time. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.